Hi, I'm here again, and we are taking up from the previous intro lesson on SPSS to actually look at some pseudo-authentic data in SPSS. So opening SPSS. And making sure I share the right screen with you. Hopefully you can see that I've opened it, but rather than creating a new data set this time, I am going to open something called, it's in my Bonner teaching file, EDPS 701 under SPSS notes, and it's called example one. The previous one was called just opening. So this is the one I want. Double click on it. Share that screen. And let's take a look at it. So let me give you a little bit of background. By the way, we're looking at the data view, but I'm going to shift to the variable view. So a little bit of background on this. I did a survey with pre-service and in-service teachers and teacher candidates who were in programs at Hunter College in childhood education and early childhood education, looking at their skill in basic math, the analysis of math problems at the 3rd or 4th grade level, and in particular at their theory of ability, which is like mindset, malleable or entity in the perception that intelligence, math skill in particular, can be improved and learned, or that it is fixed or difficult to change. But this particular variable, which we call theory of ability, is not a person's perception of their own ability in a domain, but a teacher's perception of their students. So do they believe that all students can learn, or do they believe that some can learn math, or do they believe that some students can learn math and others just can't? So those were the particular things. It's a mixed method study, so we have also a great deal of qualitative data, but that's basically the simple version of what this is all about. In this data file, I have 34 people. So let's take a look at this. And to find out what first of all data we gathered about the sample. So we asked questions about various aspects of these teachers, and you can kind of intuit them from the variable names, but it's easier to know information, more extensive information about them from the label. I'm going to change this label just a little bit because the issue of use is immaterial for this particular issue, this particular lesson. We have 2 variables representing their highest degree, and I put both of those in there for a reason we'll talk about in a minute. We have gender, which is gender as sex, age, race. Both of these things, like the other one, have use in their name because it was our usable version of the data as opposed to various things that we did pre-cleaning. Math competence, which is a scale variable, it's composed of a number of items about their competence in doing math. The theory of ability that I already discussed, and then assessments of their procedural and conceptual knowledge in solving these problems at the 4th and 3rd grade level, and also the number of unique words, that's this U here, that they used that were associated with academic vocabulary according to Common Core standards at the 3rd or 4th grade level in math. So let's look at a few characteristics of the way SPSS gives you information, and that is based on the information you entered. So for one thing, it identifies the ID as a numeric variable because they are numbers, and you have probably SPSS would, just when it was entered, identify that as a scale variable, but it's not. Each number doesn't really represent a number, it represents a unique case. So I have gone to this drop-down menu and identified that as nominal. Current teaching is nominal, and it's a yes or no. So we see that under the value labels. I have coded that as yes or no. You can see that in the data view. Let me see if the data view is being shared with you. Looks like it. And those things, where is it? Current teaching, 1s and 0s. Now I might forget, I'm not likely personally, but a person reading this might not know. What does a 1 mean? What does a 0 mean? So you put that into this value label. It's a translator, it's a code book. And you have typed in, let's see if I got rid of these, that 0 represents no, they're not a current teacher. And I know this from my code book. Or 1, they are a current teacher. And if you're wondering, where's my code book? It's someplace associated with the original survey where it tells you, okay, the survey asks this question, are you a current teacher? And people respond by checking a box. At some place you change that to a number, and you need to keep a record of what number you've changed it to. You might change it when you type in the raw data to a spreadsheet or something, or even in line here, you might change it. It might come to you from a Qualtrics or SurveyMonkey with values already haven't been assigned to that. So you have to keep a record of any place somebody answers a word, which is really a nominal variable, instead of a value. You have to keep track of the translation between the word and the value so you can assign it correctly. So here is a case. Highest degree. This is actually an ordinal variable because you can have the lowest level of degree, which would be high school diploma in this data set. Next lowest, associate, bachelor's, master's, for teachers, master's plus 30, PhD. So there's an order to those. And so this is marked as an ordinal variable, but there are no value labels. So did people put in HS, AA, B, I don't know. Let's see what they put in under this highest degree. There are 3s and 4s here. I have to go back and look in my data, code book, maybe the survey, wherever I have told myself what that's very important to keep track of this, what these values mean. And I happen to know that 3 equals a bachelor's degree and 4 equals a master's degree. You always have to remember before you say okay to add. So now I'm going to get that translation when I do anything with these data. And the translation, anybody who said 3 is now going to, those values are going to be represented with BA. Now you might wonder, hey, they said BA or something with this variable. I saw it here. Look, they're saying BA and stuff. Well, what kind of variable is that? It means open is for open-ended, to help me remember. It's a string variable. How is that going to function differently than this one? Well, let's take a look at this. And this is jumping ahead a bit, but not very far. We're going to go to analyze, and we're going to go to descriptive statistics and ask for the frequencies. In other words, how often does something happen? How often does their highest degree, which I've already identified for you, is either a 3 or a 4. How often are people in each of these categories? And then this should give us pretty much the same. How often do they have a bachelor's? How often do they have a master's? I'm just going to ask for the frequency tables because it's ordinal data, and it's checked by default in this command, which is frequencies. So I got 35 cases. Already knew that. Highest degree, there are 32 people with a BA and 3 people with a master's degree. The 32 people represent 91% of the data. Now, here's the string variable. But why aren't there 32 people with a BA? Because there are, but 3 of them have all lowercase BA. 15 of them have all uppercase. Some have bachelor, bachelor with cap, blah, 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 blah. And each way of spelling, even down to apostrophes and capitalization, is considered a unique category. SPSS doesn't know what those letters are. All it knows is, do they have spaces? Do they have marks? Do they have caps? Kind of their form. And it will treat them all as unique, which of course isn't the information that you want. There are annoying ways to then translate those into numbers, but they're annoying. So avoid it as much as possible and get your values before they go into SPSS in numeric form. Unless you have genuine short answer questions where you genuinely want some kind of extended written response. But in this case, we just want to know BA or MA. And it was pretty much a mistake to let them answer this way. So going back to, let's see if you actually saw that output, of course. No, you didn't see that output. Okay, I'll let you see that output. I'm really sorry. Here's the output that I just talked about. 35 cases. This is the output from frequencies. 35 cases. 32 are the highest degree. When it's just 3 and 4, which because I gave it those value labels show up as BA, MA. And here you have all the string values, little case BA, big case BA, and so on in data that would be very difficult to use. My apologies for the incorrect display. So going back to our variable screen, what else might I want to know? Let's see. I think I've covered all the basic descriptions of these. We added in the value labels for BA and MA. We have, I wanted to mention that gender is in this particular case recorded as sex, that is male or female. Those are the only choices. If they prefer not to answer, they're just going to be blank. And they were not offered that option, although the choice wasn't forced on them. And that's probably not the best way to do this. It's the way it was done. And that's all you have. We talk in statistics about garbage in, garbage out. And this is one of those cases where, because this is the only way you framed this question, you are not going to know anything else. Now, asking about other categories or other places on a continuum, if there were such a thing as a continuum, would be considered sensitive information. This might be considered sensitive information. It can go past the IRB, and sometimes a funding agency will want to know this. So it's a tricky place to be right now. Same with race. This was done pretty badly, in my opinion. I did it a while ago, and I wouldn't do it this way again. I don't, yeah, I wouldn't do it this way again. So there are 5 groups plus other. There is no way to indicate multiple groups. There's no way to even a category for multiple groups. Latino is treated as a race, despite the fact that in fact, Latino is more of an ethnicity. And so you could be Latino and African American, Latino and any of the rest of those categories. Asian is considered monolithic. All of those things are considered monolithic. It's not a good way of asking this question. However, if you asked it open-ended, you're going to have something like we saw before with that string variable. Again, a difficult kind of question to ask now. I have funding that requires me to gather this kind of data. Where do you do that? It's a funny, difficult place to be. Okay, I think that was all I wanted to point out about those particular issues. So we're going to go on to do something. It's not really at the point of cleaning the data, but it's because these data are almost clean, we are going to get to cleaning, but it's about checking the data. But now that I've moved a little bit onto the topic of cleaning, what are you going to do with this variable? We've already said, and this variable is kind of junk. Okay, we capture it better in the numeric variable. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to delete it? You can delete it under edit, I believe, clear it. I do not like to do that. What I like to do is, before I have manipulated anything except to give things labels and value labels, to freeze the data file. In other words, to put it in a file where it is considered locked. And so I might cut things later, but I always freeze a file before I cut it, because you never know when you're going to want to go back to the original. If you cut something and you do not save beforehand, you'll never get that information back. So be very careful about cutting data or changing data without a log, running record, explanation of what's going on, and the file with those data complete before those transformations or changes took place. So the first real thing with checking the quality of the data is that you run a couple of analyses to find out what problems there may be. And basically, those are running various descriptive statistics and then making decisions based on them. That will be our next SPSS turn here, because it's actually time for me to have your class. So I'm going to stop here and move to my own business with live view and save this, and it will be posted along with the previous and next videos introducing SPSS. Bye.